104b. Someone said he's going to imagine that he goes to Israel. That way he'll make believe that he'll be able to come. But the problem is he's imagining that he's coming.
Exactly.
So, yesterday we discussed the laws of the Mishnah. If someone accepts on himself the mincha, so what type of mincha does he have to bring? So he says, if he just says a mincha, he can bring any one of the five. Then we have all of these details. If he says, I specified one, I don't remember which one, all of those things. Here it says, Harei alai minchas, 3 lines from the bottom. Yavi yesish shiyirtz, etc. He can bring anyone that he wants. In the etc., we have the dissenting view of Rabbi Yehuda that says, no, you have to bring minchas soilas, the one with flour. That means that it was brought with flour oil and frankincense. You notice we already chose one for you.
Is that the best one, quote unquote?
Well, it said Shehim Yuchad Sheb Menachos. That's the unique one. Tana was taught in a Braisa, Hayulu Pasach Ba Kasef Tchila, because that's the first one that's mentioned in the pasuk. The assumption here is, why is this the unique one? It says because it's the first one. Elameata, rather from now, which means if so, that's a valid reason. Haimer Harei alai oila. Someone accepts on himself to bring an oila, Yavi ben Bakar, then he's going to have to bring a cow, a bull. Why? Because when it discusses the section of oila, the first, an oila has several options. You can bring a bull, you can bring a sheep, you can bring a goat. But the first thing that it introduces is the ben Bakar. It says if you bring a ben Bakar, this is how you bring it. Hayla pasach by a kasef tchila, because that's the first one. Minatzain, let's say he says I'm going to bring an oila minatzain, then he should have to, Yavi keves, he should have to bring a lamb, Hayla pasach by a kasef tchila, because that's what it says first before the izim. Mina oif, let's say he says he's going to bring oila sa'oif, so Yavi Tairim is going to have to bring Tairim. Tairim is, dove or turtle dove. Hayla pasach by a kasef tchila, because that's what it starts with. The phrase is always Tairu b'nei yaina, Tairim b'nei yaina. It's just the phrase, like we say in English, men and women. No one ever says women and men, or north and south. You don't say south and north. So right, that's just how it works. In the Torah it always says Torah b'nei yaina. It's always that phrase. So he said, okay, if you have to take the first one, you have to bring a tar. You're not going to bring a ben yaina because Torah is always said first. Alama Tanan, for what reason is it taught in the Mishnah? Harei alai oila, Yavi keves. Contradiction. It was based on the logic that we have a contradiction. It says you bring it should be a ben Bakar. And Rabbi ben Azariah Aimer, Torah ben yaina. If he says he's going to bring an oila, he brings a bird, and he even has an option, Torah ben yaina. For like Palag Rabbi Yehuda doesn't say anything about that. There's no argument. So rather we have to we need a new translation. Well, what are we going to do with the Braisa? The Braisa said clearly. Let's see. The Les Lashem Levi. It doesn't have any description as part of its name, because in the Torah when it says if someone's going to bring a mincha, it continues on to say that he's bringing flour. All the other ones have an added name to it, which an added name is a description. Minchas marcheshes, al machavas, on the flat pan, the deep pan, chales, baked in an oven, rikikin, whatever. We have these other names, but this is just plain mincha. So that's what he means. He said mincha, he's going to bring this one. But the Braisa says, because the pasuk mentions it first. Now you're telling me it's because we don't have another name. Hachi kamar. This is what it means to say. Which mincha is the unique one, the Les Lashem Levi, that doesn't have an added name to it? So shepasach be'akasef tchila. This is the one that the Torah starts with first, where it says pshita. Minchas aseilas kamar. You don't have to tell me which one the pasuk says first. I'm going to open up the Chumash. I'll see which one it says first. It says Simana Ba'alma. It's coming to tell me a siman to remember. Which one is the one that doesn't have the name? Which one would be the one that would be the
standard?
The standard would be the one that the Torah starts with, and that's a way to remember in case we forget. We'll remember which one the Torah says first. That would be the one, that would be the standard. Now, he gave us another reason to help us remember.
But this only applies to Achatas.
A mincha.
Sorry,
A mincha. So in other words, it's not because...
It's not because it's first.
Not because
it's not
first.
first.
Just
First
tell first.
Right. Now...
So then what is the answer? So why...
That's
why
because
that one?
it doesn't have a Shem Levi. It has no second name to it. So if someone accepts on himself a mincha,
it's a standard.
So that would be the
Got
standard.
it.
Otherwise, he should have
The
defined
others
which
are
one.
more
Right, I got it.
Now,
specialized.
I just want to point out that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that's giving this. Actually, no. The Bais is explaining Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda is the one that always is into having these mnemonics, these signs. Remember we had, I forget which one we had here. We had like a week or two ago. Rabbi Yehuda gave us a sign to remember. But we also had Pitzach Hadash Ba'achav. Rabbi Yehuda Hayanesim Simon. Rabbi Yehuda wanted to make it easier on the students.
He's not Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
No, it's Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eily. We learned 2 days ago that he was the Paisek for Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's house. Right? Merayin the Bein Asiyah. Okay, Mincha, Mina Mincha, Chulu. Someone says he's going to bring a type of mincha. One mincha from the types of menachos. So he's going to bring one mincha. Either he says a mincha or he says a type of mincha. If he says menachos, the plural, then he has to bring two. Boy Rav Papa has a question. Mine mincha mahu. If he says types of mincha, kivan damar mine tarti kamar. He said types. It's plural. It means to bring two. My mincha. So why do you say types of mincha? Mincha is singular. He says the kula menachos nami mincha mekaryan, because you can use a singular mincha to discuss all the menachos. We have it even in the pasuk. It says v'zayis teres mincha. This is the laws of the mincha, and it includes all the menachos. So when he says types of mincha, it's referring to types of menachos. Or maybe kiven damar mincha. He said a singular mincha. Chada mincha kamar. He really means one. My mine. What does it mean types? Mincha. My mine mincha. Hachi kamar. Mi mine mincha. Chada mincha lai. From the types of menachos. One of them is going to be, I'm going to bring one of them. From the types, not types, but from the types. Okay.
So the question is, does he have to bring two or one?
Right. See, he's using a singular and a plural in the same phrase. It's not like, see, in English, you don't make the adjective plural.
Right.
In Hebrew, you
have
do.
The grammar, because that's not our grammar.
In Hebrew, you have to make the adjective plural. You have to make both.
The verb is the plural.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have two, but if you have an adjective, you have a yeled gadol or Yalda Gedola, Yuladim Gedolim. You say Yuladim Gadol? No. You have to make all of that. So you can say in English we would say big child
or big children.
You just make the noun plural. What do we say? Fathers-in-law. That's like a description. You don't. It's not fathers-in-laws. Maybe it could be. I don't know if you could. So, when you say types of mincha in English, that would be fine. But in Hebrew, you should say types of menachos. Menachos. That's how you would have to say it. Okay. So the problem is he only did one. When we're translating it into English, it sounds perfect, but in Hebrew, it's not. So, okay, Tashma, come and listen. Mincha, min mincha. This is I think our Mishnah. If someone says he accepts on himself a mincha, or a type of mincha, yabi yachas, he brings one. Now the Gemara is medayek. Look when he brings one. We know when he brings one. When he says mincha or min mincha. Ha mine mincha. If he would only bring one by mine mincha, it could have told me a bigger chiddush. It didn't do that. It must mean that mine mincha is two. That's why it didn't say that. Mine mincha is shtayim. Okay, that's a good proof. But the Gemara says, hold on 1 second. Ema Seifa wants to tell me the case in the Seifa when you bring two. It says menachos or min menachos. Yavi shtayim. That's when you bring two. Aha. That's when you bring two. Ha mine mincha. If I would bring two for only mine mincha, could have told me a bigger chiddush. It didn't do that. So mine mincha is chada. We can't learn from this because you have yukim seisrim. You medayik from here, and then you medayik from there, and you have a contradiction. So we have to ignore this one. Tashma. Come and listen. Min menachos alai. Exactly the opposite. Type of menachos. Yavi shtei menachos min echad. You bring two menachos from one type, because he said type. Type of menachos. Ha mine mincha. It's probably supposed to be corrected. Mine mincha, yeah. But types of mincha, then chada, that would only be one, or else it would have told that to me. If that was two, then that would have been another option. Because when it's min menachos, it's two. So mine mincha, if it's two, it would have added that in. It didn't. The Gemara says no. Dilma, hamini mincha maybe shtei menachos mishnei minim. Maybe it still is two. But over there, you have to bring from two different types. Because mine. See, min mincha is you bring two. Min menachos is all from one type.
Two menachos from one type.
But mine mincha would be two menachos from two types, because mine is types. So maybe that's the pshat, and that's why it didn't say it in the same category. So the Gemara says, 1 second, v'halei tani hachi, but we didn't say that. We said, min menachos alai, maybe shtei menachos mi menechad. If he has one type, he says type in singular, and menachos in plural, so he brings two menachos from one type. Mine menachos alai, types of menachos, maybe shtei menachos mishnei minim. And then he brings two types of menachos, two types of menachos, and one from each. Ha. Mine mincha, but if you have the question of Rav Papa, types of mincha, that would be chada. That would only be one. So what we're doing here is we're saying that mine menachos, that gets two, but mine mincha, it doesn't say it. It doesn't say it, so we have a good deal. If it doesn't say it, and it could have told me a chiddush, mine mincha, types of mincha, singular, if that would have been two, then it should have said it. So it must be that it's only one. The Gemara says, Dilma Hamani Reb Shimoni. Maybe this brisa is according to Reb Shimon. The Amar Mechza Chalas Mechza Rekikin Yavi. One of the types of menachos is called minchos mafetana, the one that's baked in the oven. You have two options. Either you can bring chalas, or you can bring rekikin, loaves or wafers. So Reb Shimon says that you can actually bring half and half. It's Reb Shimon's opinion. We had this several times. So let's say someone says types of menachos. We said he has to bring one of each, right? What if he says types of mincha? So we said, oh, the Bais didn't say anything about that. It must mean that you only bring one. So the Gemara says maybe the reason why the Bais doesn't say it is because if someone says types of mincha, that would obviously be types of mincha. Two types of one mincha would be Reb Shimon's case of half chalas and half rakikin, but which is fine.
This Gemara is very difficult because, like you said, the Hebrew and the English,
The English is different, right?
really work,
We should just learn it just in Hebrew.
basically.
Umay mine mincha. So what does it mean, mine mincha? Mincha despei trei mini. It means one mincha that has two types. Aval Rabbanan, but according to the rabbis that say that there is no option of that. The Amri mechta chalis mechta rakikin layavi. You can't bring half and half. You have to bring 10 and decide which one. Either loaves or wafers. You can't bring 5 and 5. So maybe shtei menachos mishnei minim. Maybe according to the rabbis, you should have to bring 2 menachos of 2 types. In other words, the diuk from the brisa maybe is not a real diuk because the brisa is Reb Shimon, and according to Reb Shimon, you actually only bring 1 mincha. But according to the rabbis, if it would say minei mincha, you would actually have to bring 2. Why didn't the brisa say that? Because the brisa was Reb Shimon. And according to Reb Shimon, if you say mini mincha, then you're going to bring a minchas mafetan or half and half. But according to the rabbis, that we're not, their opinion wasn't in this brisa, they would say that no, you have to bring 2. Okay, that's where the Gemara ends. Do we have a halacha here? Doesn't say. I have this interesting thing here. Hey.
In some stores, they allow you to mix and match. You could buy the pants and the suit,
The jacket.
the jacket part separately.
Suit separate.
When you go to the grocery store and they have prepackaged, like let's say in a green styrofoam thing covered, are you allowed to open it up and take out like one and say I only want 1, I'm not buying 3?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I was in the store and the guy was making a big deal. I'm not buying 3, I only want 1. Okay. Pirashti v'eni de'ema pirashti yavi chamishtan. He says, I specified which one I want, but I don't remember what I specified.
You guys should have gone to Aldi's, I think.
What happens in Aldi's?
No, it's very
No,
cheap.
it's packaged.
Yeah.
You get it yourself.
packaged.
Oh, it is? Oh.
Yeah, it's all packaged. I mean, the fruits and vegetable packaged. You can't take it.
Mantana. Who's the one that says that if he doesn't remember which type he specified, he has to bring 5 types of mincha? One of each, because there's 5 options. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah says the like Reb Shimon. We're not saying who it is, we're just saying it's clearly not Reb Shimon. But that means we know who it is, it's the rabbi's opinion. It's not Reb Shimon, why? The Reb Shimon, because if it would be Reb Shimon, Kiven davar mechta chalas mechta rakikin, since he holds that you're allowed to bring half chalas and half rakikin, so automatically how many do we have now?
2.
Do we have chalas and rakikin we had before.
Yeah.
So, but now we have one more type, because now we have a mixture of chalas and rakikin, that would be 6. But the truth is that Reb Shimon doesn't only hold that it's 5 and 5. Reb Shimon really holds that you can do 9 and 1, 8 and 2, 7 and 3. So how many would that be? Because we have all of these new combinations. So that would be an extra 9 combinations, besides for the chalas and rakikin.
Doesn't sound like it's a different korban. It's just a mix and match type.
Right. But if someone says, I'm accepting on myself to bring 5 chalas and 5 rakikin, then he would have to bring that. He can't just bring 6 and 4. So here he says, I specified, but I don't remember. So according to this, it's going to be 14, because you have that extra 9 combinations. Inami, if also savalak Rabbi Yehuda damar kol menachos Bais eserik l'sfuki bar besri menachos, you're going to need to bring 14 combinations, 9 combinations, and then each of the 5. So why does it say according to Rabbi Yehuda? Because there was another view of Reb Meir that says that these menachos you have to bring 12 each. If it would be 12, then it would be
a lot more.
Then it would be what is it? 15. It would be 11 plus 5, which would be 16. Then you would have 16. We would have 6 according to Rabbi Meir. I didn't get into that, but just telling us Rabbi Yehuda. Abaya says that we can get out of this. We can say that the Mishnah is actually Reb Shimon, even though the Mishnah says you only have to bring 5. And it could be Reb Shimon's opinion as well. According to Reb Shimon, we have these combinations that no one, that he's not going to satisfy. Abaya says, Afilu Tamer Reb Shimon. You could say it's Reb Shimon. Shaminan Leila Reb Shimon, but we've heard that Reb Shimon has said, Damar Maisi Umasni. He says that you can bring it and you just make a condition. What does this mean? The Tanya, we have another source for this. It's a brisa. In a different case. Reb Shimon says, Menachos Mevi Hashamay Velugay Imay. The following day, he brings his asham and his loig in his jug of oil. We're talking about someone that was a nazir and a mitzayra. He's not sure if he's a nazir. And he's not sure if he's a nazir. He's not sure if he's a mitzayra. He's not sure if he's a nazir tameh. And he's not sure if he's a mitzayra. So he has to bring sacrifices out of doubt. So could be he has to bring a shlamim. Could be he has to bring an asham mitzayra. No. Could be he has to bring an asham mitzayra. But what does he do if he's not a mitzayra? So what he does is he makes a condition. He brings an asham and his the jug of oil which a mitzayra has to bring. And he says, if he's a mitzayra, then all is good. If he's not a mitzayra, then asham zeh yeshalmi nedava. This should just be a donation. Okay, this should just be a donation, but we have to treat the asham as if, from both. We have to treat the shlamim as if it's an asham and the shlamim. So, for example, first thing is, if it's an asham, it needs to be slaughtered on the north. A shlamim could be slaughtered anywhere. So this is a shlamim, but we're going to slaughter it on the north because just in case it's an asham. Matan b'hainas, we're going to have to put the oil and the blood. We're going to put the blood on his fingers, on his thumbs and his toes because it could be it's an asham mitzayra. Usmicha, he's going to have to lean on it as if it's a shlamim. V'nesachim, as if it's a shlamim. He's going to have to bring the flour and the oil and the wine like an utenufas chazav v'sheik as if it's a shlamim. V'nechal zichri kuna, as if it's an asham. It's going to be eaten by the male kainim as if it's an asham. Liyem v'layla as if it's an asham for only one night. A shlamim would have been 2 days. V'yafal gav. Okay, this Gemara is very interesting. Rashi, the following piece of Gemara, Rashi just translates no problem. However, Rabbi Gershon and the Shita Mekabetzes both say that this is not an original. Rabbi Gershon says, Hai Pirish Tisvarim. This is a commentary that was added in. And the Shita Mekabetzes adds in that it's from the Rabbanan Savarai, that this got added into the text. Everything was handwritten. So if you wanted to make a comment on the side, if you were an active reader, and then a publisher came along, sometimes they couldn't always tell who was the original and who was the... So, the Afagav the Kamafrik Mar, and even though the master asked, B'shchitas Kodshim and Mesechtes Vachim is called Shchitas Kodshim, the slaughtering of the sacrifices. Why is it called that? Because the next Mesechta, Chulin, is called Shchitas Chulin. Chulin, for some reason, got put into Kodshim. It's strange because it has nothing to do with all of this is all sacrifices, but the regular shchita got put into that, so they had to divide it up. It's shchitas kachim and shchitas chulin. That's the original name. We just dropped these names. We call it zvachim and chulin. So it was asked in zvachim, Eimar damar Reb Shimon ma'aseh masni lechatchila. Maybe Reb Shimon only holds, or we were told that Reb Shimon holds that you are allowed to make a condition. And then you just bring it, l'tikuni gavra, because here you have a fellow that's never going to be allowed to eat sacrifices until he gets rid of this impurity. But we can't get rid of the impurity unless we're going to treat it. And how are we going to treat it if we can't bring a sacrifice without that's definite? So we're going to have to make a condition to get this sacrifice done. Aval ba'alma, but in any other case where we don't need to fix someone's problem. The evidence if it was brought already, then we'll say, okay, it was acceptable. But just to go ahead and bring it, here we have a person in our case, back to our case, we would have someone that took on himself to bring a mincha. He should bring 14 menachos to satisfy. Why are you telling that he only has to bring 5? Let him bring 14. There's no problem with that. But l'chatchila, just to go ahead and make conditions. So it says, Hani Mili, when would we say that was an issue? Gabi Shlamim. You see here, we're combining a Mitzayra, Asham Mitzayra and a Shlamim, which have different laws. The Kamamayit Bachilasan. If I say that it's a Asham Mitzayra, so then I only have one night to eat it, a day and a night. But really it's a Shlamim. Shlamim should give me 2 days. So therefore I'm not allowed to do this l'chatchila in any other case unless I need to fix someone's issue, which is a suffix mitzayra that he needs to get out of this. The havel kachim lebeis absul, because if you minimize the amount of time of eating, it's possible that you're going to end up burning kachim because it was left overnight, and that we don't want to do. So you're not allowed to do this l'chatchila, only b'di'evet, or if you need to fix someone's problem. Avol menacha is, but when it comes to the karban mincha, fil l'chatchila, you should be able to do this l'chatchila. So in other words, what the Rabbanan Savarai just did is they said, don't ask a question from Zvachim. That in Zvachim we said that you're only allowed to do this to fix a problem, but you're not allowed to do this l'chatchila. Because that's a question about shlamim and asham. But regarding a mincha, all minchas have the same amount of time to eat it. They're all only 1 day and 1 night. So even l'chatchila you'll be allowed to do this, and that's why it fits perfectly with the Mishnah, Abaya's answer.
You're going to have a lot of bread. Somebody's going to have to eat it all.
No, different. No. What he's gonna do is he's gonna bring. He's not gonna bring 14. He's only gonna bring 5. And what he's gonna do is he's gonna say like this: Here's my 10 chalas. Here's my 10 rakikin. I don't know the combinations, but if it should be. I took on myself chalas and chalas. If I took on myself rikin, that's rikikin. If I took on myself 1 chala and 9 rikikin, then here they are. You list out all the possible combinations, but you're really only bringing only bringing this one. It's like the boy that was davening.
The chalas and rikikin are baked differently, aren't they?
Right, you're actually bringing chalas and rikikin, but I don't have to bring 10.
10 of each. 10 of each.
And then at the combination you work it out.
I see.
It's like the boy on Yom Kippur that said the Aleph prayers and tells Hashem to turn it into prayers.
You figure it out. I thought he has to bring separate combinations.
No, that would be that. Then the Mishnah won't fit with Reb Shimon because the Mishnah says you only bring 5. Abaya is responding that the Mishnah could be Reb Shimon, and you still only bring 5 because the combinations will work itself out with a condition. Okay, Amalei Rav Papa Abaya. So Rav Papa says to Abaya, Rav Papa was a student of Rava, which is fine because Abaya and Rava are the same generation. He says to Abaya, Reb Shimon Damar Mechta Chalas Mechta Rakikin Yavi. According to Reb Shimon, it says that you can bring half and half, 5 and 5. Hakamaisi Yisar Nechen Mishnei Yisarin V'Lugachen Mishnei Lugan. You have a little problem here. Because, what's your combination? Your combination is, you're bringing 5 types of menachos. 2 of them could have been different measurements. Now, how do you do it if you bring 5 and 5? You bring 1 isarin, and you divide it into 10 different loaves, but either loaves or wafers, so it could be 5 loaves, 5 wafers. Where do you get the flour from this? From 1 isarin. What's this person doing? He's getting 1 isarin from 2 isarin. 2 israinas. Because he's bringing 10 of each. And then we have to use them to combine, so he's not bringing the right amount initially to get the combination.
Or maybe he makes smaller chalas, half the size.
No, he has to make... But let's say there's a problem. Because let's say he took on himself challah, just challah, which that's a possibility.
Okay.
Then he needs 10 loaves from this isarin. Let's say he took on his just Rikikin. He needs 10 loaves from these Rikikin. Let's say he took on himself 5 and 5. Now we have a problem. Because he's getting those 5 and the other 5 out of 2 Isroinos. And the same would be with the oil. You're adding the oil onto the chalas, you're adding the oil onto this. But really, you're using 2 jugs of oil to get the 1 jug that you need. So the Gemara says, Shamin and Reb Shimon, we've heard that Reb Shimon says, the Amarim, Hevi Yisar Nachan Mishnei Yisroinos, V'lugachan Mishnei Lugan Yatza. Rashi points out that we don't know where he says this, but we heard that he says this. Okay? So if that's the case, then you just resolve the problem. The Gemara asks, but how do you do kmitza on this combination? So he says like this: the Masni va'amar makes a condition, and he says, "Ichalas lechudayu, rekikin lechudayu." If each one is alone, he accepted himself either chalas or rekikin. Amri the kmitza mechalas. So when he's doing the kmitza on the chalas, lehavi chalas. The kmitza is for the chalas. The kmitza na rekikin, lehavi rekikin. He does that's for the rekikin. That was the easy one. So if it's half and half, Amri, he says like this: the kakamitz mechalas, when he takes the kaimitz off the chalas, lehavi amechza chalas. That should be for half of the chalas. See, he's doing the kamitza in the chalas. You need a full kamitza there. You can't do half a kamitza. You do a full kamitza of the chalas, and you say this should be for half of the chalas, umechza rekikin, and it should also be for half the rekikin. We can ask on this, but. With the kakamitz rekikin, when he does kamitza on the rekikin, levi amechza rekikin and mechza chalas should be for half the rekikin, which that we can understand, and then it's also for half the chalas. The Gemara asks, if it's a combination, you were supposed to take both of them, break it into pieces, and do a kaimitz from that mixture, the broken pieces together, so that it should be half chalas and half rekikin, because that's what you have. The kaimitz needs to permit both of those. Here you're doing it from one on the other. That wasn't how you're supposed to do it. The Gemara says, Shamin and Leila Reb Shimon. We've heard that Reb Shimon says, and here we actually have a source for it. Yes, you're supposed to mix it together, but if you did kamitza, and you only, in the handful, a scoopful in the hand, you only got one tight, you're yaitza b'diavad. Okay. Now it says, Vayika Meiser Shemin. But you have the leftover oil. Now this is a little bit of a problem, because the leftover oil of the chalas, there is no leftover oil on the chalas. That you just pour it in the chalas. On the rekikin, they were made wafers. Then what you would do is, there are different opinions. One opinion is you would continue to smear the wafers. You would pour oil on and smear it, pour oil on and smear it, pour oil on, and just keep pouring and pouring and pouring. Other opinion was that you would make just a sign on it, kimin ki, a Greek letter.